by the fact, oh wow, okay, that's terrifying. I just looked over to the window and there was just a guy with a Captain America shirt on, and I'm in my Midtown jumper, and I felt like he was just like giving me like a stare down. That was terrifying. That actually made me jump. Okay. Oh hey, Spider-Man Far From Home came out and I'm going to talk about it. I just want to preface this by saying that I did get spoiled for some aspects of Far From Home. Not all aspects, but some aspects. And I went into this thinking that I was not going to like it at all. They're going to just ruin things and things are not great, and I didn't want any part of that. I was ready to be gone. I was ready to be like, okay, maybe I just watched the Black Widow film and the Sam Bucky TV show and I forget everything else. But my love for Zendaya persisted and I went to see it and I bloody loved this film. I actually really, really loved this film. I feel like I will watch every Marvel film once. I feel like I've been part of the MCU fandom. This is like 11 years now since I've been watching these films, and I don't think that I could watch something and not want to see it, aside from the Fantastic Four that came out, like the most recent one, because like I didn't even watch the trailer for that, genuinely. But that's not MCUs, that don't count. I actually love Spider-Man. I thought that it was done so well and I loved the aspects of it that we got to see. And I also just loved where they are taking the story and the characters, and I loved the right amount of the humour and the serious aspects of it, and what the characters are, sort of where they are after the blip. Now, I thought it was called The Decimation. Obviously, this video is going to contain spoilers for Spider-Man Far From Home, so if you have not seen Spider-Man Far From Home, please do not watch this video because I'm going to spoil it. And if you do carry on watching this video and listen to my spoilers, don't let the spoilers put you off because it's actually a really good film. 4.5? No. 4 out of 5 stars, I would say. It was good. I enjoyed it. I had a good time. So I want to start off by the fact that the introduction to the Marvel song was "I Will Always Love You," and it started and I was like, this is gonna end. I'm gonna just see a picture of Tony Stark. The first proper image that I'm gonna see, like post introductory credits, is gonna be Tony Stark. And guess what? It was Tony Stark. And I was like, go away! Like, this whole film just was about Tony. It just had all aspects of Tony Stark in it. And I was like, look, I'm still not recovered. I'm still not okay. I still need time to process and accept the fact that he's gone. I watched Iron Man 3 the other day, which was the first Iron Man film that I'd seen since Endgame. And it was really great, and it ends with like fireworks, a Tony Stark voiceover, the arc reactor ending up in water, and just like a general like uplifting end. And I was like, wow, I can't believe the MCU ended here. But yeah, this film was filled with so much Tony Stark stuff, like, and I really felt like you felt the pressure from Peter, especially that reporter bit where they're all crowding him and asking all these questions, and I thought it was done really well because it flashes back to that scene where Tony said about him becoming an Avenger, and he was like, no, like, I don't want that, but now he's sort of been thrust into that. Like, you know, he's not ready for that. He is a kid, and I liked seeing that, and I liked that we get to see how he feels about that, and he just wants to be a kid. He just wants to be a kid and have this summer vacation and be with the girl that he likes and with his friends, and he's kind of been swept up into all of that now, and that's terrifying for him, but also as a viewer you can see that he's not ready for any of this stuff, and you know, he just wants to be the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, which is what he's always been. And I think Tony knew that, and Tony didn't want to make him Avenger. Tony didn't want him on that ship, but now the whole world thinks, well, Tony had him with him, so that's what you got to do, and Tony's not there to kind of challenge all of that. Yeah, I feel like that's really interesting because we're dealing with Peter on his own without Tony there to help. Also in that I Will Always Love You montage, we see Vision and Nat and Tony, but we also see Cap, and I'm wondering, is Steve actually dead? Like, has Steve died? He was a very old man in the end of Endgame, and I'm wondering if he's actually died or if he's just saying he's dead so that no one's like looking for him, that they've just said that he died when he didn't die, but they've just said that's what's happened and he is going to be alive somewhere. Or I'm wondering if they have said that he's now died and that is what's happened to his character. So yeah, I want to know, like, is that what's happened? I feel like including him feels really like specific, and if he just retired they wouldn't have done that, but I'm thinking maybe they've said he's dead and that's why Sam is now Cap. But yeah, that was to put in like yeah, just a little thing that I wondered about. Also, I just want to talk about how I love the whole Happy and May and Peter dynamic. Like Peter's like, we need to have a serious discussion about you and my aunt, and like May being like, it's just casual, and Happy's like totally in love with her. I mean, who can blame him? I am as well. But I just loved that whole dynamic. It was funny, it was sweet, it was lovely, it was wonderful, and I just loved all of it. They are a very unlikely couple, and I just loved everything that came out of that, and I just thought it was really sweet. I also thought Peter and May's dynamic was hilarious. People complained about them casting Marissa Tomei as Aunt May because like Aunt May is supposed to be old, but like she's not. Like aunts aren't old. Like I am an aunt, I'm 24, yeah, we're not always old, and just because she was old in the comics doesn't mean that she has to be old in the movies. And I really love what they've done with Marissa Tomei as Aunt May, and I love that she just is like a normal aunt, and I love how her dynamic with Peter is reflected in that. The whole Peter Tingle thing was absolutely hilarious, and then he starts calling it Peter Tingle. I just love them so much. And I loved his and May's dynamic after the event, that she's supportive of him being Spider-Man, but then also wants him to have this vacation, but then also knows what he wants, and that she knows that if he's with the suit then that's what it will be like, and she's just really like chill and cool about the whole thing. Also, like holy shit that she just appeared back in their apartment 5 years later to people living there. Like, I mean, it was very convenient that their whole class and May and everything didn't age, but like, because they all blipped, but like genuinely, if you actually think about how that snap would have impacted the universe, that was half of like the whole universe population. Like, so like the scale of destruction that would have caused on Earth. I was thinking about this the other day, the amount of people that would have been in cars, the amount of people in planes, that would have just like pilots that would have just gone. Like, and then why does that pilot snap back to just like the sky? People in helicopters, people on boats, and then also people in their homes. Like homes aren't going to stay empty for 5 years, and honestly like that was like, I was shook. I was genuinely like, oh shit, like this actually has massively messed up the universe, and like where does the planet go from here? This is one thing that I feel like they could have explored a bit more, but I understand why they didn't go too much into detail about it, because they couldn't. Because they just couldn't. There's too much to cover there. There's too much ground. The world is in chaos. That scene in Endgame where it's like 5 years later and you see the world has still not properly dealt with everything. That's what the world would be like. And I feel like Spider-Man is almost like, it's like a humorous thing. It has those serious moments, but it couldn't deal with those things in the scale that it could have, like, should have done. And then obviously the next film we're gonna have is Black Widow, which is gonna be a prequel, obviously. I always knew it was gonna be a prequel, but like Endgame confirmed that. And then we're gonna have Sam Bucky, the Sam Bucky show. So I'm just wondering if they're just like not gonna talk about it now. Like I feel like that was it in the like video that I Will Always Love You video. Betty is actually like, we're moving on to a new phase, and I wonder if she's like, new phase of the MCU, let's forget what's happened. But yeah, I feel like that was just, it's a big thing to have now, things to deal with that. So I feel like they kind of touched upon it, mentioned things briefly. They had obviously the homeless shelter and raising money for them, and I was just interested to see, like, you know, it's an interesting one because the world is literally gonna be in absolute chaos still. There's gonna be so much to sort out, so much to sort out. So one of the things that I got spoiled for was that Fury and Maria Hill were Skrulls, and I don't know if it's because I got spoiled, but they genuinely did feel like they were acting different in the film. Like they didn't feel like them. I'd love to know if you weren't spoiled, if you thought that their performance, like that they felt a little bit different to you than what they usually felt like. But it was a little bit more wooden. They were a little bit less like, it felt a little bit out of character for the characters, and I don't know if that's because, like, I don't know if that was intentional or just me thinking it because of that. But if it was intentional, it was good, and I liked that it was there because it's something that in hindsight you could look back on and be like, oh yeah, that's cool. Also, along the lines of the Skrulls and people not being who they say they are, I also want to talk about that like crazy illusion scene where Peter sees Tony's gravestone, which like I don't want to talk about because I don't want to see that, and the skeleton Iron Man, which again, traumatizing, didn't need to see it, didn't need it, I didn't need it, I didn't need it. I need this to stop now. I cannot watch films where there are illusions and scrolls pretending to be other people and not knowing who's actually real or not. That is something which I don't need in my life and that I don't want. And it was great in this film, but that illusion scene was so trippy that by the end of it I was like, please just go back to normal, because I'm getting a headache and also I don't know what's real, and I keep thinking that it ends and then it doesn't end, and I'm thinking that it starts and it's real and it's not real. And for just a big chunk of time I thought that this is Nick Fury, and then it turns out it's just an illusion and Jake Gyllenhaal as Nick Fury. And I'm just, yeah, genuinely, there was no scene in that scene where Samuel L. Jackson actually played the correct characters of Samuel L. Jackson. He just played a scroll pretending to be him, and then also him, Jake Gyllenhaal, pretending to be him. And it was just very trippy, and I hope that stops. It was cleverly done. It was very well done, and I liked that we got to see like him falling in the different Spider-Mans and like him trying to fight and knowing that, but then eventually him using his Peter tingle to break through the illusion. That was really good, and I thought that was really, really clever. But yeah, it was just so stressful not knowing who was who. I also want to talk about like the vacation aspects of it. It was really sweet that Peter got MJ the Black Dahlia necklace. I love that that's her favourite flower because of the murder, and I also love BuzzFeed Unsolved for teaching me about that. Like MJ definitely watches BuzzFeed Unsolved, do you know what I mean? Like who is she though? Is she a Shaniac? She's a Shaniac, I'd say. Yeah, and their whole interactions were really sweet, and I really liked that whole dynamic and his plan and what he wanted to put in place. I thought that was really nice, and I love being able to see those places as well, seeing Venice and seeing Prague and these different places that they got to visit, and also London, getting to see London. It wasn't really London, it was Tower Bridge, so like it's not really like what London is, but we got to see it London, and it was the Tower of London and Tower Bridge, and that was really cool. And they went into the vault, like MJ with her mace, amazing. So that was really cool. I liked that a lot. I loved their whole dynamic, like when she finds out, and like you really felt Peter's pain in that scene, because he's like, oh, is that the only reason why you've been watching me? And like you can see that she's a very guarded person, but how he makes her want to open up a little bit, and then how he feels like he can trust her. And that whole scene was just really good, and I really liked that. And then Ned and MJ's dynamic was also really funny, especially after that. You are an FOS now, friend of Spider-Man. I thought Brad was like a little bit unnecessary. It was just to kind of make a love triangle which didn't need to really be there like at all. Like I added humor, but like what humor? Taking pictures of people in their underwear? Like it wasn't, I don't know. And there were a couple of shots when Peter like tries on Edith and he can see that he reads messages. And also, can we just talk about how it's even dead, I'm the hero? Like, isn't that the most Tony Stark thing you've ever heard in your life? There were some scenes that when he jumps out of the roof to like shoot the drone, I was like, this is such an unnecessary shot. This is just like a look at me like jumping. Like I was like, this just isn't necessary. We don't need that. But yeah, Brad's like whole situation, like it just didn't feel as necessary as I think like they wanted it to be. It was just like he was just there to be a love interest, but then he just turned out to be like a comedy thing, and it wasn't even there. Flash is obviously not a love interest for MJ, but he is a really good comedic character because he adds purpose to it. Like he loves Spider-Man, and it's hilarious that he has like his flash mob fan. I loved his whole dynamic, but he is good humor. Like Brad was just kind of like a little bit of like cringy humor and just not necessary. Like I see why they put him in, but me personally, like I just didn't think his character was very like necessary to the story, but that's just me. Also, I got spoiled for the fact that Mysterio's... I always knew Mysterio was the villain, like from straight off the bat, from that very first trailer when he said that he was here in 616, which is not true because the MCU is not 616. Earth 616 is the comic book universe. Earth 199999 is the MCU. So the second he got that wrong, I was like, okay, so either the MCU have messed this up completely, or he's just making stuff up because he's not actually from any place and he's a villain. And I was right. I knew that was going to happen. But I found out that the reason why he was the villain was because he invented the bath, which is what Tony talks about in Civil War. war to kind of go back into memories and deal with them and sort of sort them out and stuff. But Tony took it from him and fired him, and he worked for SI. When I was like, are we really gonna kill off Tony Stark and then like present him as a villain in the next film after that? Are we really gonna do that? No thanks. When I found that out, I was really annoyed, and I was not about that life, and I was like, we're not gonna do that. Here's not what we're gonna do. And it's that because Tony's whole thing is that he was doing things that were bad, creating weapons and supplying weapons to people that were not using them the way that they should have done. And you know, his whole thing was making the world better and making the world safer and protecting the world, and he died to protect the world. And I was like, here's what we're not gonna do. But actually I feel like in that situation no one would think that Beck was even in his right mind, like for anyone to think that Tony was actually the villain. From my perspective of that, I was like, okay, Tony would have fired him for the right reason. He wouldn't have just fired him for no reason. He's going to be firing him for these specific reasons, and because of this and because of what has happened in this situation, not because he wanted to steal this technology for him. And like, I reckon that he might have been involved with also co-making it with Beck. Like, I'm not just trying to defend Tony Stark because he is my absolute number one and I love him to pieces, but I feel like no one's going to look at that and be like, Beck's right, let's support Beck, like, oh my god. And like all those other people, I think they wanted to think they were wronged by him, but I feel like there was lots of other things put in place, and Tony's not there to give his side of the story, so they were only giving their side of the story, and they all just came across as like not good people anyway, so why would I believe them? So that whole scene when like Mysterio's like cheering and stuff, it just came across as very like villainy. So I don't feel like anyone's gonna take him that seriously. Like, he's not a good guy, and us as the audience knows that. J.J. Gyllenhaal did that really well. He had those aspects of him, those nice aspects to him, those like really like polite but like fake polite moments to him, and then the absolute like psycho moments to him, which were just done very well. And he was very good at sort of like switching between those and manipulating those in various different ways, which was really good, and I liked that in his performance and in the character. It was really, really good. So I actually felt like it was done well. I hope that they leave that alone. I hope that like Tony, as present as he's always going to be in Marvel movies, I hope that they don't continue with that and like his legacy stops now. And yes, there's always going to be aspects of it, you know, especially in the Spider-Man one. Stark Industries, you know, it's still a company. Pepper runs it, you know, and all of that. But I would like them to kind of stop, you know, if you're going to kill him off, just don't keep bringing him up. But yeah, I did feel like it was done better than I thought it was going to be done. All the Peter and Happy scenes were actually really lovely. I really, really liked them, especially him coming to pick him up, and then the scenes on the Quinjet where he's like, you know, Tony was my best friend, but he was a mess. He was a complete mess. But he didn't ever like second guess you, and that was just lovely to see, and I think Peter needed to hear that. Back in Black started to play, Happy put it on, and we see Peter like making all the stuff, and it was very reminiscent of Tony in his workshop, and that was really emotional. And then Back in Black started to play, and then I cried. I'm not gonna lie, I cried just a little bit, just a couple of tears. Couple of tears for our long lost boss. And then he's like, I love Led Zeppelin, and it was like that emotional moment with the funny moment, which I feel like Spider-Man does do really well. Also, the ending. Okay, so that post-credit scene, so we've got Happy Peter who's gone on a date with MJ, and they're having a, well, she's not having a good time swinging around New York, but they're together. It was a bit weird that he like picked her up, they swung around, and that was the end of their date. That was like a bit random. It's because they needed to get them both in Times Square, but they couldn't think of a logical reason for him to be as Spider-Man in Times Square, I think. But like, okay, you know, if that's the date, that's a date. We see J.J. Jameson, who's Daily Bugle Man, which was super cool. Literally everyone in the audience for that happened was like, oh my god! I was like, yeah. I saw the first showing that was in my town of the film, and literally everyone was just like, oh my god, it's him, it's the Daily Bugle. So that was really cool. And like we were all shook. And oh my god, right. So firstly, I want to talk about Mysterio's video. So now everyone's just going to think that Peter is not a good guy, and we've not got anyone there to like fix that. And like, I mean, May's not going to think it, Happy's not going to think it. I'd like to think that MJ and Ned aren't going to think it. Flash is going to be just shook that he runs a fan account for Peter Parker. But yeah, that was a lot, and like I'm really stressed as to who's going to believe that video and what's going to happen now. Like that did proper leave me on a cliffhanger, and I was like, oh. I really love that they've introduced the Daily Bugle now, but it was done in like a subtle way. So like it's now part of the MCU, but in a way that was just like, oh, there it is, oh my god, and now it's going to continue to be that. And I thought it was a clever way of introducing it rather than it being this big like massive introduction. That was done well. Yeah, I was like really shook. I was like, oh shit, what's gonna happen now? How is this universe, what's gonna happen? He's still gonna be in high school in this next one, and like what's gonna happen? Like, he is a kid. Is this like a breach of the Accords as well? Because obviously he never actually signed the Accords because he wasn't an Avenger and he's also a minor, and I think Tony just wanted to keep him out of that as much as possible. I want to know what the situation with the Accords is now. Do they still exist? Like, because I'm also wondering this about the Bucky and Sam thing, because they, like, Bucky is definitely a fugitive and like Sam is as well. Like, everyone was just shook. Everyone was like, no, like you could hear people visibly like, oh my god! And like, even when they were like Peter Parker, I was like, well, they could just pretend it's someone else, and they showed his picture, and I was like, oh shit, there we go. So that was a very interesting way to end it. And, well, I mean, it ends with, obviously, Fury in space, which sets up nicely for a lot of the new ones, which are going to be spacey ones, like Guardians and Captain Marvel 2, if that's going to be a thing. And then I think Thor 4 is also in talks. Interesting. But yeah, I was like, oh my god. I was like, shit. I'm very intrigued to see what's going to happen there. But yeah, that was a big thing to end on. That was like one of the biggest cliffhangers in a very long time. I just didn't expect the Spider-Man identity reveal to be in movie 2. I was expecting movie 3. So yeah, I did really like this one. Like I said, there were a couple of shots that did feel a little bit unnecessary, and there were a couple of bits where I was like, can we just like not do that anymore? Like, it's fine that we've introduced it and kind of spoke about it a little bit, but let's just not continue with it. But I did really like it. I had a really fun time watching it. I needed that because Endgame was genuinely just too much for me to deal with, so I did need something which was a little bit like more like upbeat and happier and not as just stressful, except for that ending. But yeah, it was actually really fun, and I did like it, and I did have a really good time watching it. So yeah, I'd love to know what you thought of Spider-Man Far From Home. Please leave your thoughts and opinions in the comments down below. Where are you thinking they're going to take the MCU now? I want to know when. Well, I reckon new Spider-Man's going to be like 2021, I would say. Next year we've got Black Widow, and then we've got a couple of TV shows. Sam and Bucky! Can you tell that I'm excited about that? Because I'm so excited about that. Oh my god. But yeah, I'd love to know your thoughts on what happened with Spider-Man Far From Home, and also where you think the MCU is going to go from there. Thank you for watching. If you're new here, then I make videos a couple of times a week about books and fandomy things, so if you want to stick around and join us, then you can do that. And as usual, all the links to all my other social media is in the description below if you want to come hang out with me on there. I hope we're doing really, 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 really well, and I will see you next time. Bye!